News 10 starts now with a breaking news alert.
Good evening. I'm Justin Early alongside Rissa Shaw. Gordon and Tara have the evening off. We begin with breaking news tonight. The man wanted in connection to the deadly shooting of a DPS trooper in Freestone County has been caught.
That's according to the Waller County Sheriff's Office. Authorities say DeBrett Black was captured near Prairie View about an hour ago. The trooper was shot in Freestone County on I-45 around 4 p.m. News 10's Chelsea Edwards joins us now over the phone with more on what happened. Chelsea.
Yes, the victim is said to be a married father of 3 out of Mejia and a well-known member of his community. This Texas DPS trooper was shot and killed this afternoon near Fairfield in Freestone County. An hours-long manhunt led authorities to the suspected gunman, who has been identified as 32-year-old DeBrett Montreal Black. Police say the suspect was driving southbound on I-45 when he was pulled over by the DPS trooper at around 3:45 p.m. After the trooper made contact, the suspect reportedly used a rifle to fire several rounds at the trooper before fleeing the scene in a 2012 gray Chevy Malibu. 2 women may have been in the vehicle at the time of the shooting. We also received several calls from viewers and messages who say cops were moving on I-35 and Highway 84 as the manhunt got underway today. Tonight, the suspect reportedly drove into Waller County where shots were fired. Police set up a perimeter between Highway 290 and Wyatt Chapel Road, where we are told a SWAT team went into the area. Now, the name of the deputy has not yet been released at this time.
The man who allegedly shot and killed the state trooper is behind bars on capital murder charges. News 10's Ryan Henson is joining us with details about how this happened. Ryan, the first thing people want to know is, when was he captured?
Yes, just before 9 last night, that suspect, DeBrett Black, was seen in Waller County, and that's when he got in a shootout with law enforcement. Now, thankfully, during this attack, no law enforcement officers were injured, and Black was the only one who was injured after a K-9 unit bit him, and that's when officers were able to successfully put him in handcuffs and behind bars where he sits this morning.
Once the investigation is complete, that'll all be turned over to the local district attorney. But right now, the main focus is taking care of the scene, taking care of the family.
And Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton released a statement saying, "I'm saddened to hear of the tragic death of a Texas Department of Public Safety trooper killed today in Freestone County. This trooper died selflessly, serving Texas. Please join Angela and me as we pray for the trooper's family and for the entire Department of Public Safety." Now, obviously, funeral arrangements for the trooper Allen have not been made yet. Stay with us here at KWTX for continued coverage on air and online on this holiday tragedy. Reporting live, Ryan Henson, back to you.
And also, Governor Greg Abbott released a statement in the tragedy saying, in part, "I ask that all of Texas keep this trooper and his brothers and sisters in blue in their thoughts and prayers. The killer will face justice, and the state of Texas will continue to offer our unwavering support for the men and women in law enforcement who keep our communities safe."
From the most watched station in Central Texas, this is KWTX News 10.
Good afternoon, Central Texas. I'm Ryan Henson. Julie Hayes has the afternoon off. We're continuing to follow the shooting death of a beloved Central Texas state trooper. Trooper Damon Allen was killed after being shot with a rifle yesterday while working a routine traffic stop on I-45 near Fairfield. He's already sorely missed in his hometown of Mejia. Officials say the trooper was shot and killed by 32-year-old DeBrett Black of Lindale. Black was captured 120 miles away from Fairfield in Waller County, just northwest of Houston. We've since learned he lived in Killeen at one point. He's now charged with capital murder and held on a $500,000 bond. News 10's John Carroll joins us live from Mejia. John, a somber day for Trooper Allen's friends and family.
It certainly is a somber day for Trooper Allen's family and friends and all of those in law enforcement. Behind me at the police station here are the flags flying at half staff. No one in the police department was able to talk because actually most of them are still off on vacation. But the top law enforcement officer of this entire county, Limestone County, Sheriff Dennis Wilson, thinks so much of this young man who was killed yesterday that he drove and came out of his way to meet us and to talk to us. Sheriff, thanks for joining us. Tell me, first of all, what are your personal feelings right now?
Well, obviously, John, my heart is broken because we've lost a really, really great trooper, a man of high integrity in our county, a guy with a lot of respect. But more importantly, he's a man that wore a badge and a gun. He represented the state of Texas. He went to work every day with a great attitude. His number one priority was the safety of the people that he went out to protect to. Great, great family man, great, great trooper, tremendous representative of law enforcement. And it really, really breaks my heart. I'm very sad today to think that we lost a brother, a very close brother in law enforcement. And I pray God help his family, God rest over the rest of the troopers that are out on the highway, and for everyone that wears a badge and gun, wherever you are, this is a strong point to say our life and our work is very dangerous. And the fact that we may walk out of the door and never come home again is a very, very reality that was proven yesterday with the death of our friend and our brother in law enforcement, Trooper Damian Allen.
Sheriff, you've answered all three of our main questions, but one more time, let's talk about, you know him, and let's talk about his personality and what type of a man he was. Give us a little bit more of a picture.
Damian Allen was a guy that when he walked in the room, all the lights came on. Great attitude, never had a bad word to say about anyone, very dedicated to his job, a professional in every way. He is a guy that could stop you on the side of the highway and you would be willing to thank him for his transaction with you on the side of the road simply because of his demeanor. He never let his badge get in the way of doing what he knew was in human interest. And I'm just telling you, he was a fine, fine representative for the Texas Department of Public Safety.
And tell us one last thing right before we end this interview. He is one of the first, if not the first, local boys to make trooper and come back and serve here.
He did. We always got a lot of fun out of picking on Damian because we always called him a homegrown boy that wanted to come back to his roots. And I think that's very important and says a great statement for Damian because he realized how important it was to come back and to serve in the community where he grew up and where he was raised and give back to the community. And Damian gave back in a number of ways that people will never realize what he did, and that's the way he wanted it. He wanted to be a contributor, but he wanted to be an unknown contributor because he loved and cared about this community, about this county, about this state, about his family. Everything about Damian is positive. There are no negatives about Damian. Love the guy to death. We're gonna miss him, but I'm gonna tell you, we know God is in control, and we're gonna pick up and we're gonna take off where Damian left off, and we know that his reward is great.
Sheriff Wilson, thank you also not only for being here and to talk about this young man, but also for the work that you've done for decades in protecting this county and for all law enforcement, how appreciative we are for what you do. And thanks for being with us today.
Thank you, John. I appreciate it.
So that's Sheriff Dennis Wilson giving us an inside peek at Damian Allen, the young man, 41-year-old trooper who was gunned down yesterday on I-45. Reporting live in Mejia, John Carroll. Now back to you guys.
From the most watched station in Central Texas, this is KWTX News 10.
A very powerful moment in Freestone County today as a convoy arrives with the body of Trooper Damian Allen.
Good evening. I'm Marissa Shaw alongside Justin Early. Tara and Gordon have the evening off.
We are learning new details this evening in the shooting death of a DPS trooper. Mejia trooper Damian Allen was shot on I-45 just south of Fairfield yesterday afternoon.
John Carroll joins us live in our studio with some exclusive breaking news you're hearing here first. John.
Well, Rissa, we have been in contact with law enforcement ever since the tragic and senseless killing of Mejia hometown trooper Damian Allen yesterday. We've been told that the suspect who was caught in Waller County last night has confessed to the killing and killing the trooper, and that he had a huge disdain for law enforcement. We've also learned that the entire incident on the interstate was captured on Allen's dash cam video. Well, the day after in Mejia has been a grim one.
Just a good guy that lost his life way too soon. So that's all. We're just really sad.
Shock and disbelief in Mejia today as their longtime neighbor and friend and trooper was shot and killed by a wanted criminal during a traffic stop yesterday afternoon just south of Fairfield on I-45.
Great, great family man, great, great trooper, tremendous representative of law enforcement. And it really, really breaks my heart. I'm very sad today to think that we lost a brother, a very close brother in law enforcement.
As the 41-year-old Mejia native lay dead on the interstate, shot from behind with a rifle, the manhunt was on. Officers quickly identified the suspect as 32-year-old Dobert Black of Lindale and the car that he was driving. While many were celebrating Thanksgiving meals with their family, Trooper Allen was out on the job.
He's a man that wore a badge and a gun. He represented the state of Texas. He went to work every day with a great attitude. His number one priority was the safety of the people that he went out to protect too.
After more than 3.5-hour search, police caught up to the suspect in Waller County. A police dog took him down, and he was taken into custody. He's been charged with capital murder in Allen's death, and he's jailed on a $500,000 bond. While people all over Facebook this afternoon were eulogizing one of Mahia's favorite sons, talking about what a great man he was. Allen's body was brought back from Dallas, where he had an autopsy performed this morning.
Just pray for his family. The Allens are a great family. Everybody knows them here. They're just really good people.
So funeral arrangements have been completed for Allen. Visitation will be from 5 to 7 p.m. next Thursday at the Bowers Funeral Home in Teague. The funeral service begins at 10 a.m. next Friday at the Mahia High School football stadium. Burial will follow at Salem Cemetery near Freestone. Allen leaves behind a wife and 3 children. Reporting live in the studio, John Carroll, KWTX News 10.
Thank you, John. Governor Greg Abbott ordered Texas flags be lowered to half-staff today in Allen's honor.
Governor Abbott says, quote, the tragic death of Trooper Damon Allen is a sad and sobering reminder of the risks our men and women in uniform take every day. Cecilia and I extend our deepest condolences to his family and friends during this unimaginably difficult time. As flags are lowered, I call on all Texans to join me in prayer for Trooper Allen and the entire law enforcement community who keep us safe.
Meanwhile, the police dog responsible for finding Dobert Black is being honored in social media posts across the state. As John mentioned, Odin found Black in a field full of hay bales. The Cairns Police Department in Navarro County, about 30 miles north of where Trooper Allen was shot and killed, posted a picture of Odin on its Facebook page, calling him the hero of the day.
The group's Canine for Cops also posted a photo of Odin, calling him Employee of the Year. The group gave the dog to Waller County Sheriff's Office earlier this year.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us tonight. The man suspected of killing a DPS trooper on Interstate 45 has been transferred to a Central Texas jail. Now, News 10 has confirmed 32-year-old Dobert Black of Lindale was transported from the Brazos County Jail to Limestone County just last night. He's accused of killing Trooper Damon Allen of Mahia. It happened during a traffic stop on Thanksgiving Day on Interstate 45 in Fairfield.
Right now on News 10 at 6, more details in the death of a state trooper shot down in cold blood during a traffic stop.
From the most watched station in Central Texas, this is KWTX News 10.
Good evening, Central Texas. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Gordon calling you.
And I'm Marissa Shaw. Tara has the night off. New information today about how a Central Texas DPS trooper was shot and killed Thanksgiving Day.
News 10's John Carroll has been on this story since the tragic traffic stop last week. He joins us live in our studio with more. John.
Well, Gordon, it was a traffic stop on I-45 just south of Fairfield in Freestone County Thanksgiving afternoon that cost a beloved state trooper his life. But this returned arrest affidavit today now sheds new light on Trooper Allen's final moments and how a wanted fugitive is alleged to have ambushed him in his own car. It's 3:45 p.m. Thanksgiving Day. 41-year-old DPS trooper Damon Allen, father of 3, pulls over a car for speeding, not knowing, as always, who's in the car that he stopped. According to the arrest affidavit, 32-year-old Dobert Black of Lindale was driving. After the trooper got Black's driver's license, he returned to his own squad car to sit down and run him. The affidavit states that Black then exited his own vehicle with a rifle, walked up to the driver's side door of Allen's squad car, and opened fire, delivering at least 1 fatal gunshot wound to the head to the Mahia native trooper. He died at the scene. Black was captured after a 5-hour manhunt near Waller, northwest of Houston. The Texas Ranger who swore to the affidavit said in his report, when Trooper Allen's body was removed from where he lay, Black's driver's license was found lying in a pool of blood beneath him. The final statement in the affidavit shows Trooper Allen had no chance at defending himself. Photographs taken at the scene showed his duty pistol still in his holster, with the retention strap engaged. He was simply ambushed. Black is now behind bars in Limestone County Jail on a capital murder charge of a peace officer. Trooper Allen will be buried after a funeral memorial service this Friday at Mahia Football Stadium. Now, as the community of Mexia and law enforcement continue grieving the loss of Allen in the Allen home, more sad memories today, as this would have been the latest wedding anniversary for the late trooper and his wife. Reporting live in the studio, John Carroll, KWTX News 10.
But right now, the focus is on the fallen trooper. There's a visitation for Allen tomorrow night from 5 to 7 at the Bowers Funeral Home in Teague. And his funeral begins Friday at 10 a.m. at the Mexia High School Stadium.
Law enforcement and others from all over the country are expected to attend. And Mexia wants to make sure they see how much Trooper Allen meant to them.
That's right. News 10's Rissa Shaw is just back from Mexia. Rissa, they're making something special in his honor.
Tara, there's no doubt his hometown of Mexia is hurting. But tonight was proof of a community's ability to hold their heads high and work together to turn tragedy into something meaningful.
Their colors are red and black. But Mexia was blue Wednesday, both the shade and the feeling.
My prayers are with them in this senseless tragedy.
The city is mourning the death of Damon Allen, the DPS trooper who was shot and killed by a man he pulled over Thanksgiving afternoon.
This is for our sake too, because this helps us with our grieving process, to feel like we get to do something. And although it's not much, it is something.
To honor his memory and service, the city is making blue bows to line Highway 84 for his memorial service Friday.
You know, if we can't do nothing else, I think this would be the best to show our appreciation and our support.
At least 100 sets of hands, even ones that usually hold footballs, making 500 bows for the former Black Cat.
We do have one of our football players that that's his uncle, so it's really affected our team. We're here as a family, you know. That's what we built this program off of is family and what we believe in and loving each other. So it's beyond football, it's beyond sports, it's life.
An impressive showing for Trooper Allen tonight, but they're going to need even more help tomorrow to put up all those ribbons they made. Volunteers are meeting at the Tractor Supply parking lot in Mexia at 1 p.m. The mayor says they'll need all the help they can get. Reporting in the studio, Rissa Shaw, KWTX News 10.
All right, thank you, Rissa. News 10 has also learned Governor Greg Abbott is expected to come to Mexia for Allen's memorial service. Again, that is Friday at 10 a.m.
Good evening, Central Texas. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Gordon Collier.
And I'm Tara Merchant. Final preparations are complete for the massive memorial funeral service tomorrow in Mexia for slain DPS trooper Damon Allen.
News 10's John Carroll joins us live from Mexia with more about a town in mourning. John, what a tough time this must be.
Well, Gordon, what we can simply tell you is that here at Mexia's Black Cat Field, the high school football stadium, city leaders say there's never been anything like it. The funeral service tomorrow for Trooper Damon Allen will be the largest ever in the city's history.
Small town folks that care for their people.
A flurry of activity in Mexia today while people were lining the streets and highway with blue ribbons in honor of Trooper Damon Allen. DPS troopers from all over the state are flooding town. Mayor Richard Duncan says the town is mourning with the family and the ribbon movement is the least they could do.
We're going to focus these primarily in the outskirts of Mexia, just as far as they'll go, so that when the family comes by, they can see the love that we wanted to give to them.
Over at the high school football stadium, Black Cat Field, final preparations were being made for a huge crowd for the memorial service in the morning. Mexia ISD Superintendent Dr. Lyle Dubuis says the DPS is in charge, but the district is offering all of its services.
You know, it's really an honor that the family and DPS thought of us to hold the funeral here. You know, it shows a lot about our community.
John Neighbors was out on 84 today towards Teague, getting in on the ribbon tribute. His son graduated with Trooper Allen.
Yeah, we're hoping that that'll give them a little bit of, idea of what we feel about him and how much we respect what he did for us and respect for the family.
While more than 1,000 people are expected in town tomorrow, people in Mexia are proud to claim the fallen officer as their own.
Trooper was a Black Cat at heart, a May High School graduate, and it only seemed logical that we would be able to host this and bring the community together around him.
Years ago, Trooper Damon Allen played football on this field. Now tonight, right now 12 miles down the road near Teague at Bowers Funeral Home. The family is receiving family, friends, and colleagues who want to pay their last respects. Then he will be laid to rest after tomorrow morning's memorial service at Salem Memorial Cemetery, right across from his own home. Reporting live in Mexia, John Carroll, KWTX News 10.
It's the moment that brought all of us to tears. A grieving family, a daughter, a wife, saying their final goodbyes to fallen DPS trooper Damon Allen of Mexia. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today. We begin with our continuing coverage out of Limestone County, where fallen DPS trooper Damon Allen's funeral services are underway. Let's get right now to News 10's John Carroll, who is outside of the Mexia High School Stadium, where the funeral just wrapped up. John, emotional indeed.
Julie, I can simply tell you that right over my shoulder, there's the hearse just now leaving with the casket carrying the body of Trooper Damon Allen. You can see behind me as that hearse is driving through a sea of DPS trooper cars. It is as far as you can see with the lights going right now. This is going to be like a 45-minute processional just to get out of town. Officers have parked in parking lots all throughout the schoolyards and blocks away. Over 1,250 cars involved in this processional. Now, let me describe for a moment, before we go to the video, let me describe what we saw inside. I sat at the 50-yard line, Julie, about 4 rows up. Could look straight down the aisle or down the middle and see the casket and watch exactly the things as they unfolded. Watching all of the DPS officers and officers from all over, states all over. I've interviewed those from Utah, those from Vermont, those from Oklahoma, and watching them stand and salute. It was just an incredible, surreal moment. One of honor. They call that the Wall of Honor. But we're going to go right now to the video, and I'm going to tell you, Julie, about the most moving moment of the service today. After 2 major speakers, finally, the wife of Trooper Damon Allen and his little girl were allowed to come up to the casket to pay their last respects. A tall DPS trooper was standing right on the side of the little girl. As they leaned over, the wife and the little girl seemed to be praying and crying. And a few minutes went by, and the crowd was absolutely silent. And then as the wife pulled back to begin to retreat and then start to go back to her seat, the little girl, literally, after she was hugging her mom, collapsed again on the casket. And you could not hear anything else but tears all across the stadium. I was surrounded by 40 of his 1995 classmates who graduated here from Mexia High School. They were sobbing. So people that were on the field, the officers from all different units everywhere, sobbing. It was a moving moment, and finally a DPS trooper had to reach down to the little girl, grab her, pick her up like a little child, and just embrace her and carry her back to her chair. Now, earlier, right moments before this, their pastor addressed the crowd and said, "People, you need to remain strong." And then he looked at the wife of Damon Allen and said, "And you too, and your family need to remain strong." Let's listen to what he said.
To the family, this is my family as well. Our thoughts and our prayers will always be with you. Know that you're never alone. You have a family that will always support you. So I encourage you today to stay strong in your faith each moment.
Well, Julie, I'm sure that when you came to me just a few moments, choppers above, and there are several choppers, but there's actually one chopper right over my shoulder that is actually following the hearse and accompanying the casket, the hearse carrying the casket, as it now goes down this street, Bailey Street, to the main street 84, takes a left and heads on out to Teague and to Salem Cemetery, where he will be laid to rest. Reporting live at the Mexia High School Football Stadium, John Carroll, KWTX News 10. Now back to you, Julie.
A heartbreaking moment today during the funeral of DPS trooper Damon Allen, as Allen's family says their final goodbye. Good evening, Central Texas. I'm Gordon Collier.
And I'm Tara Mergener. An emotional day in Mexia today. Trooper Damon Allen was eulogized before thousands of officers and others who gathered at the Black Cat Field. This was the largest funeral in the town's history.
Allen was shot and killed during a routine traffic stop on Thanksgiving Day. Tonight we have live team coverage on today's events. News 10's John Carroll attended the service in Mexia. Rissa Shaw was there for the graveside service in Teague.
We will start with John, who's been following the story the past 8 days. John, it's quite a tribute.
Quite a tribute, exactly, Tara. Here on the same football field, of course, no more chairs as earlier today, but here on the same football field where Allen played in high school 14 years ago, over 1,000 officers from Department of Public Safety troopers all the way to Texas game wardens and all in between stood the entire 1 hour and 15-minute service to honor and remember their fallen fellow officer.
Fear not and rest easy now for all the contacts. All the calls from here on and evermore, we've got them.
In an impressive show of support, over 1,000 officers and first responders flooded Wildcat Field in Mexia this morning, along with the governor, to pay their last respects to fallen Mexia native Trooper Damon Allen. His pastor and close friend, Brian Hallmark, comforted those in attendance.
As you keep living your life, keep loving, keep Damon's life honored and alive.
When the hour and 15-minute service was over, the Wall of Honor was displayed as all in the line of duty saluted as Allen's casket was carried from the field. Killeen-based trooper Enrique Hernandez said the ceremony was emotional for him.
It was very moving. It was the amount of people and outside law enforcement that showed up. It meant everything.
Law enforcement from all over the country descended on the small Central Texas town.
And anytime we see an officer go down, whether it's a state trooper, a deputy, police officer, it touches us.
Getting to honor folks that, ultimately lost their life in line of duty. They paid the ultimate sacrifice. You just got to do it.
But the moment of the day that brought everyone to tears was when Allen's wife and young daughter approached the casket for a final farewell. His little girl could not pull away, and Allen's best friend, Trooper Donnie Carter, had to lovingly grab her up in his arms and carry her back to her seat. Members of Allen's Mexia class of '95 wept openly.
That's the last time the little girl will be able to see her father. So it was really meaningful. A lot of the class were crying, even the guys.
I got pretty choked up watching that poor little girl and her mom up there at the casket.
Over 1,000 cars with lights flashing pulled into the procession to leave the stadium and head to the cemetery to lay Allen to rest. So for several hours today, Tara and Gordon, Mexia took center stage in the law enforcement world in the state of Texas and also even nationwide. And in the end zone, I happened to see that Mexia Wildcats, or rather the Black Cats, ended their playoffs last weekend. And their motto for the playoffs was True Defender. You can't see it on the fence. It's too dark right now. But I looked over and saw that today. How ironic. This Mexia native, True Defender, laid to rest. Reporting live in Mexia, John Carroll, KWTX News 10.
A hero's procession followed the funeral. An estimated 20 miles of cars lined up from Mexia Stadium all the way to the cemetery.
News 10's Rissa Shaw is live at Salem Cemetery in Freestone County and has more from there. Rissa, imagine it was a packed house there.
That's right. It was standing room only at the graveside service. In fact, 3 to 4 people were standing so long they had to be carried out and checked by medical staff. But that's just proof of how dedicated people were to giving Allen the graveside service and goodbye that he deserved. Bagpipes lead the way as fallen trooper Damon Allen is laid to rest. Law enforcement both near and far ride into Salem Cemetery in Freestone County to pay their last respects.
We're a family. It doesn't matter what part of the country you're in. We're here and we have to honor our brother.
Definitely honored to come out here and just be part of this and support our brother that's here. That's unfortunately for the wrong reasons that we have to be out in Texas at this time.
A sea of hats and uniforms surrounded Allen's grave, an incredible show of support
for the Texas trooper whose life was taken too soon.
It's tough. It's the brotherhood of it all. Nobody matters what color your uniform is. We're all, you know, the thin blue line is with all of us.
The Allen family lives just across the way. When I asked why this cemetery, I was told because Allen's daughter wanted to be able to see her daddy's headstone from her front porch. Reporting live in Freestone County, Rissa Shaw, KWTX News 10.